Greetings, everyone. It's Crime Talk with Corinne, and I am back with episode 4. Thank you, everyone, for checking out my previous videos. If this is your first time being here, just take a look on my channel. I have 3 other episodes, and then I have my debut of sorts that's also on there. So this is episode 4, but it's my 5th video. Thank you to everyone who has shared my channel, who has watched my videos, who's commented, who's liked. Thank you very much. I am, hoping for my channel to grow, and I think so far we're having a pretty good start. It's only been a few weeks. Not even a month yet since I've posted my first video. So I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited, and so let's get into it. Today we are going to discuss what most people are talking about when it comes to the Idaho 4 right now, and that is whether or not the house on King Road, 1122 King Road, should be demolished. What I've noticed when it comes to the demolition of 1122 King Road is that it really is split down the middle. Half the people think that it should be demolished, half the people think that it should stay standing, at least until the trial is over. So I'm going to start off from the beginning stating I am on the side of keep the house standing. So in today's episode, we are just going to go over my thoughts on the entire situation. Again, I have my notes. And, once I finish emptying out my brain for you guys on this subject, I want you to drop down in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on my thoughts and, what you think about the situation as a whole. Recently, Steve Gonzalez did a interview, and he was talking about, the house being demolished. And something that he said really resonated with me. He said that it's better to have the house and not need it. Excuse me. Have the house and not need it than to need the house and not have it. And that really resonated with me because that is something that I say in my real life often. If you ever received like a unexpected amount of money or an amount of money that was not budgeted, maybe it was a gift, a bonus, a rebate, a refund, something that doesn't fit into your normal monthly income, right? This is I don't want to say extra money because a lot of us don't really have extra money, but this is just money that was not otherwise factored into the budget. So you get this money and life happens. Something comes up. Something is broken. It's the hot water heater. You need new tires. Your starter went, your roof collapsed, something happens. And now this money that you thought was, maybe a little extra for the savings, or maybe it was, something to treat yourself, right? Now you need it to take care of an unexpected happening. And so when things like that happen in my life or the life of, those around me, I always say it. It's better to have it and need it than to need it and don't, right? Because if you think about it, if your hot water heater went, it was going to go either way. But luckily you have money that isn't allocated to something else to take care of it. So I said all that to say that I 100% agree with Steve Gonzalez when he says, leave the house there. If you don't need it, fine. But what if you do need it and it's gone? And so I really just want to talk about this. Like, it's this whole situation with the house being demolished bothers me. And I got my notes and I want to stick with my notes so I don't go all over the place. So let me just go ahead. My first thought was, why accept a gift that you don't want? So I can understand the owner of the home not wanting this on his or her hands anymore. I can understand them saying, like, this is a lot going on here. You know what? Here, I'll give the house to the school. They can do with it what they want. I just want to wash my hands of it. I can understand the owner of the home saying, this is officially more than I signed up for. I'm good on this. I can understand that. What I can't understand is why the school accepted this gift and then immediately said, we're going to knock it down. And so a lot of people say that there's safety hazards and so on. We'll touch on that shortly in the episode. I'm not buying it, but we'll get to that. So, like I said, it's split down the middle. And so some of the people who are on the side of keep the house standing are also on the side of, standing with the family, right? We're supporting the family. The family wants the house to still stand, so therefore the house should still stand. Unfortunately, there's more than one family. And so the Gonzalez family, like I said in the opener, they have been, very vocal about wanting the house to remain standing. I agree. I agree with Steve Gonzalez 100% that it's better to have the house and not need it than to need the house and not have it. Like, I agree with that 100%. However, if we're standing behind the families, we now know that the Chapin family thinks that it should be knocked down. And so if the Chapin family thinks that it should be knocked down, and, of course, there's still Maddie's family, and there's still Xana's family, and, we don't know what their thoughts are. And so, it seems like the Gonzalez family is the spokesperson for the victims, or the spokesfamily for the victims, but that's not necessarily true. Because when they were discussing the death penalty, when it was announced that, yes, we are seeking the death penalty, I remember Maddie's dad had spoke out. And so, there are certain instances where the families speak out about their thoughts. They don't feel like they need to tell us their theories or validate any of our theories, because this is real for them. Like, this is a direct impact. These are their children. These are their siblings. So while we in a true crime community care and we have empathy and sympathy for the families, they are not our families. And so, no, they don't have to speak out. That would be draining. I understand that they are trying to heal the best way that they can. And there's no guidebook on how to cope when you lose a young adult child. There's no guidebook that tells you what to do when one of my triplets passes away. There's no guidebook that tells you how to act. So no, I don't think that they should, address everything that's out there. However, there are times when they do speak out. So even though the Gonzalez family is the most vocal, that does not mean that they are the only voice, is my point. And so now we know, in this specific instance, the Chapin family said, no, knock it down. So the Gonzalez family absolutely does not speak for the Chapins in this particular situation. So my point there is, now what? If you're supporting the families, and we now know that the families do not agree on this particular instance, now what? Now what? Should it stay or go? Now that there's a split in the wishes of the families, you can't accommodate all of them if they don't agree. So now what? So here's the thing. Like I said, I think the house should stay standing. I also think that the reason that they're giving for knocking the house down is crap. All of them that I've heard don't really cut the mustard for me. So they said that there was asbestos and hazardous materials from, cleaning and things. And so, who will want to live there, right? Because it's a dangerous environment. It's so dangerous that when you guys went into the house in October, Halloween, the FBI was there doing scans and such. They were all in and out. I took the door off and everything. But nobody had on hazmat suits. Nobody had a mask on. But it's so dangerous. Y'all went out there, I think it was 2 days. And nobody was in there with a hazmat suit on. So how are we supposed to believe that it's so dangerous that nobody needs to protect themselves from the hazardous materials or whatever that are floating around in there? I honestly feel like they're not even trying to sell what they're saying. It's basically like, here's a reason, do with it what you will, is kind of how I feel. Another one that's really rubbing me the wrong way is stating that this is somehow going to help or hinder the healing process at the university. I don't agree with that at all, because there's no trial date. They have not set a date for the trial. The trial hasn't started. It's not finished. With all the mysteries that are surrounding this case, you can rest assured that when the trial gets here, it is going to be a mess. The amount of things, just based off of the speculation that we've all had, we're going to get some answers. I'm sure we're going to have more questions, but some stuff we are going to get answered. And there's some stuff that we're probably wouldn't even imagine. There's some things that are going to come up, I'm sure, that we won't even see coming. Steve Gonzalez said that, he knew that the families were going to get dragged through the mud during the trial. Now, we all have our own opinions about some of the things that he says. However, obviously he knows something, whether it came from law enforcement or his own life, that he knows is going to come up and come out. So, if the trial hasn't started, how are we healing? How can we even begin to think that healing is going to take place if knocking down the house is a Band-Aid? Once the trial starts, the Band-Aids get ripped off. There's no telling what's going to come up. There's no telling what's going to come up. We're going to demolish the house, and that's going to, initiate this campus-wide, community-wide healing, and then at some unknown date down the line, the trial's going to start, and then now what? Now, there's no way to know what kind of emotional responses are going to be triggered from hearing the details and the testimonies of things that we didn't even know, that the community didn't even know, that the students didn't even know, that the faculty didn't even know. Let's talk about, I don't want to get too far off subject because this is in my notes, but we can even talk about the simple fact that you guys said that there was nothing to worry about. Nothing to see here. Everybody's safe. Nothing to worry about. And then you didn't arrest Bryan Kohberger until December 30th. From November 13th to December 30th. It was a month and a half. It was a month and a half. So you said that there was nothing to worry about. But this man was roaming around. Because according to you guys, he did it. This is a person, no doubt. But he was roaming around, living his life for a month and a half. And then drove across the country. So you guys said that there was nothing to worry about. And there was. Because there's no connection, right? There's no connection to Bryan Kohberger and the victims. So that means this was random. And so because this was random, that means at any given time, anybody else on the University of Idaho or University of Washington campus could have also been killed because he was just randomly attacking people, right? But you told them that they had nothing to worry about. And then y'all let him drive across the country. He's a ninja, remember? He went in the house and killed 4 people in 8 minutes and left without a trace. Oh, I'm sorry. There was a trace. DNA on the sheath. But otherwise, nothing. A trace that the first lab didn't find, but that's not what we're talking about today. My point is you don't know what kind of emotional response the community is going to have when they hear these things spilled out in court, explained in court. This man, who is a ninja and can kill 4 people on 2 floors in 8 minutes, was allowed to drive across the country. He could have stopped at a rest stop and killed people before his tank of gas filled up. That's what y'all are saying. But y'all don't have nothing to worry about. How are people going to feel about that? When your job is to protect them, and then they have to hear who knows how long later, right? Because, PTSD is a thing. So now all this is going to be dredged back up. That's all I'm saying. The healing that y'all think is going to happen by knocking his house down isn't it. And if you think that knocking the house down is somehow the flashy thing from Men in Black and everybody's going to forget that this ever happened, doesn't make sense. On top of that, you're planning on making a memorial there. So if we're going to keep this space as the, where the quadruple murder happened, if this space is always going to be memorialized, what's the difference? If you don't want it to be a tourist attraction, it's still going to be there. Someone else brought up a financial angle about gift tax or maybe property tax. Somebody also brought up, that they have security there. And so they're paying, someone to be, on watch to make sure no shenanigans happen there. The University of Idaho bought the University of Phoenix. I don't think that we're really thinking about a shortage of money. I don't think that we're thinking about a, mass exodus of students, transferring out and going elsewhere. I don't think that is an issue. It may be a thought, but I don't think that money is an issue for them. And, just as some people may leave because of the tragedy, some people may come because of the tragedy. Now, this is this famous school, right? Because everyone's talking about it for years and years, and this is where this happens, and, oh yeah, I go to the University of Idaho. And so, just like some people may be deterred, some people may be attracted. That's what I'm saying. So while I was figuring out, working through my thoughts and writing my notes, I had one of my aha moments. And I thought, what if the plan, obviously, is to demolish the house and then wait another 3 to 5 years for the trial. At this point, the survivors have graduated. The friends of the victims, and basically everyone who knew the victims personally, will have also graduated. And anybody who, went to the house that morning, and everybody's gone. What if that's the thought? So now you come to this trial, and it's almost like, what are we even talking about? All the kids are gone. The house is gone. What are we even talking about? What if that is the plan? Now, we don't have to worry about Band-Aids being ripped off and wounds being reopened because nobody's here. Over time, the story of the Idaho 4 is going to be like a University of Idaho urban legend. People are always going to talk about it. They're going to speculate. They're going to wonder, did they get the right guy? Who else was involved? No matter the verdict, this is what's going to happen. And so I just wonder if we wait long enough for this trial, half of the things that we know or heard can just be brushed off as rumors. Now that these students are adults, like grown adults that have graduated, they got their degrees, they, maybe even started families, we're not going to look at them as wild college kids partying and being irresponsible. Maybe that's the plan. But the issue with that is who would be doing the delaying? Who would allow this to drag out 3 to 5 years? Now, of course, this is just a hypothetical. This is me, throwing my thoughts at you, but it brought me to my final point. And that is, how are both sides in agreement that the house should be demolished? Something about that seems off to me. And I heard it said months ago that they thought that it was a little odd that the state and the defense agreed on so many things. And so I don't know how many things they agree on or what, but this doesn't really seem like something that they should agree on. And so I have my notes. I'm going to read from my notes because it's kind of twisted. The only thing that makes sense to me is both sides are confident they have everything they need to make their case. Both sides are 100% certain they will not need anything else from the house. They agreed back in the spring to knock it down. It was originally scheduled to be demolished in October, and the university agreed to postpone it. And now, I think the only reason that they agreed to postpone it in October was because Bryan Kohberger waived the speedy trial. So it seems like they just want this demolished before the trial starts, which is interesting in itself, but I'll continue. So why agree to postpone it in October to only turn around 2 months later and set a date with only 2 weeks' notice? What's the reason? So the state has to be certain that they had their man. They have to know who did it, why, and how in order to be this confident. The same has to be said for the defense. They have to be 100% certain of their case. But if the defense is 100% certain of their case, shouldn't they want the house to remain standing so they can get evidence or investigate further when it's time to arrest the real culprit? So let me see if I can clean that up a little bit. If the defense knows that their case is solid, they know that they need nothing else from the house, they're good. We don't have anything else to worry about. Shouldn't they want the house to remain standing in case there needs to be another investigation into who actually did this? Because if the defense is certain that their case is solid, then that means they know that Bryan Kohberger is going to be acquitted or exonerated. So then it doesn't matter who did it after that. If the state is so certain, there's still a chance that he could be acquitted. So what about an appeal? What about an appeal? What if you need to present new evidence? Nobody cares about that. How can both sides be so certain? The only thing that makes sense to me would be they're certain because they're working together. If both sides already knows the outcome, what's in the house doesn't matter. Ann Taylor is a public defender, which means technically she is on the same side as the state. She may have come from a different county, but she's still paid by the state. And at $200 an hour plus overtime, I just don't know if... I don't know. I'm not saying that she's been corrupted. But I'm asking, if they're paying $200 an hour plus overtime, are they shelling out all this money if there is a snowball's chance in hell that Bryan Kohberger is going to walk? The prosecution, the judge, the defense attorney, the school, they're all under one umbrella. Bryan Kohberger is the odd man out. I'll save the rest of that for episode 5, as far as Bryan Kohberger being the odd man out. But I'm just saying, listen, it's something to consider. It's something to consider. You know, everybody keeps saying that, you know, they got everything they need out of the house. How do you know? And if they're saying that they got everything out of the house because it has been gutted to the point that anything that they find in there isn't worth conversation at that point, that's another issue. So, that's all I have right now. I'll be back.